So here I am again. I noticed the first video was a little soft, so I'll try to talk a little bit louder. So again, my name is Gary, and these videos are going to be more for myself and my family, but I'm putting them public. The first video, just in reference to no comments. Again, like I said, I'm not familiar with how this works, so I had posted that it would be okay for kids to view because it seemed pretty benign. But I guess when you do that, comments for whatever reason are turned off. So I might change that up because obviously if you do have major questions or concerns and you're not being obnoxious and rude, opinionated, I can have my wife or somebody view them and I can get a hold of you. Anyway, to the point, I really don't know how to start these, so I guess I would just jump in. I think one of the things I'd like to talk about is pain, but before I get into that, I wanted to talk about disability because the title of the previous one is Disability and Constant Chronic Pain. And so I could be on disability. I choose not to. One, because you don't get a lot of money, and two, because I can walk, I can talk, I can walk, I can do all those things. I just have lots and lots of pain, and I just have to endure. That being said, there are many days that I push myself so that I can work. I'm fortunate enough to have a job where I don't have to do any physical labor. I rely only on my brain. I'm a computer engineer, so it's mainly just, at this point in my life, I've worked my way up, mainly just meetings and, silly stuff. So anyway, the point is that how do you work with that? If you're on disability now, can you get off? Will you get off? What do you do? Blah, 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 blah. I had these major issues when I was younger because many different doctors had told my family that I wasn't going to make it past 18 years old. So, I was on disability till 18, and then I just said, well, I'm not dying, so maybe it's time to push the envelope. And so I took myself off of disability and started odd jobs and ended up in the car business. That's irrelevant, I guess, for a little while. And then I went back to school and, got my degree in computer science and yada, yada, yada. Pain is rough, or any disability is rough. And some disabilities you don't have a choice per se. Some do, right? Whether you're losing a limb or something else, you can find work. I think as a society as a whole, and I'm not talking to anybody specifically, what I've seen is people have a tendency to take the path of least resistance. So they're maybe content to collect disability, but then you live lower on the totem pole, right? You're just squeaking by, and I guess my advice is to push yourself for not just the culture we live in with the money and all that good stuff, but for yourself, for your brain, for your soul, whatever you want to call it, pushing yourself every day a little bit for some way, mentally, physically, or otherwise. What I've found over many, many, many years is very beneficial because you can start to accumulate those little wins, and it helps you be more confident and more capable. Just like, picking up a talent or an instrument or something like that. You may think it's so superficial and irrelevant, but you'd be surprised how much it helps you yourself and your soul. So I think that's important. But let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's just talk about chronic pain because that's what I'm superior at, I guess. I've gone this roller coaster of taking medications, doing meditation, biofeedback, which is a scientific meditation, I guess you could call it, um, and tried other things, alcohol and even recently marijuana. Now that it's becoming legal, back in 2018, I took it when I had cancer, and anyway. The point I'd like to make with all of those options is nothing is as good as trying to build up your natural tolerances. It sounds silly. It sounds like, oh my God, this take forever. But I'm here to tell you, and it's not just my opinion, it's many doctors that I've worked with that have given me compliments, that when you push through, your natural pain receptors react differently. So whether you get used to the pain, which I'm not sure that's necessarily correct, or your body just learns to live with it and it's not as, redlining, not as high and overwhelming to your brain. I would encourage you to just play around with that. Baby steps, obviously. You can't just turn it off. It doesn't work that way. You can't just stop taking meds. That's very difficult, as a matter of fact. So if you've been on medications for a very long time, you have to wean yourself off. You have to slowly taper yourself off. The other nice thing about doing that is when you do have the severe pain where you can't even breathe or whatever may be, or what your level of extreme pain is, it all varies. When you do take something on those days, oh my God, it works way better. So there's a win-win situation here, but it just takes time. Nothing's overnight. And I think that's the other important message to take away from this is it does take a lot of time. And then lastly, because we're at 7 minutes now, I'll talk about exercise. Physical pain, the one thing you could ask your doctor, and I did too, is if I push myself and come up with a plan, whether it's walking or whatever you're doing, it doesn't really matter what you're doing, can you hurt yourself or go backwards, or is it just a matter of working through the pain to get better? And I'm talking about like surgeries and things like that, chronic pain, of course. It was very difficult. It took many years. One of the things that I said in the original video is I was bedridden for 8 months. I had many back surgeries and I couldn't walk, and many doctors thought I wouldn't, or if I did, it would be with a cane or a walker or whatever it may be. And I'm walking 8 miles a day, and that's my form of exercise. And I think that's really good for where I'm at in my life and how much I have going on physically. So I'm not saying do that, but push yourself. There's another reason for that, to push yourself, not only to get stronger and your body will react betterly and handle the pain and handle the disability or whatever that is, but mentally it really is helpful. It's underrated. Everything that I see, some people say, oh, you get out and walk, it raises endorphins, this, that, but they don't go into detail. I'm here to tell you, without a doubt, every one of us can benefit from getting outside or getting on a treadmill. Outside is better because you can enjoy the trees and the birds and the bees, but depending on your environment and your climate, may not be conducive to year-round. I now live in the Southwest. I used to live in Wisconsin, so in Wisconsin I didn't walk as much. But anyway, point is, walking, get a little bit of exercise, make yourself feel like you're normal if you can. Brainwash yourself to a certain extent, and you'll enjoy life more. You'll feel like you're making more out of it. You'll feel like you're making headway and making a step forward, and that's all an emotional thing to go along with the physical. So that's my second video. I know I'm just touching on little things. Like I said, I'm not following any script or anything like that. I'm just putting content out there. I'll probably get some feedback from my my family and my sister, um, and what maybe I could cover or whatever. But otherwise, I'm just kind of winging it. And then I guess I'll rely on you to ask additional questions, and just keep making these videos and touching on some things. So I appreciate your time and your interest in this. If you're watching, and good luck.